Hi, great to have you. Great to have you on the show. And this is the big one, isn't it? They've pulled out all the stops, and as expected, because we spoke before this, before the budget as well, as expected, the push has come for the new tax regime.
Correct. And in fact, this is what we were discussing the other day, that you know, what I had said is there seems to be some fiscal space, but if it will come to nudge people onto the new tax regime rather than keep them in this web of deductions, exemptions, rebates. So that, as expected, has happened. But what I'm seeing, Tamanna, is that some of these are beginning to seep into the new tax regime as well. So I'm still processing the budget speech, but you know, if they're increasing rebates, if they are introducing the rebates and they're introducing surcharge onto the new tax regime, then slowly, one by one, all the mess of the old tax regime will start showing up here as well. So I actually would have been happier to have lower rates and keep the rebate away, keep the standard deduction away, and just move people onto a simpler, you know, lower tax. The number of slabs can go down further, and just make it simpler. So as expected, there is a big nudge, and they've put this on default. So default essentially means is that if you don't choose which tax regime you want to be on, you are automatically put onto the new one, although the choice is still with you to opt for. So it's called opt-in and opt-out. In behavioral economics, it's called opt-in, opt-out. And opting, most people don't opt in. They just take the default. So it's good that the government is using default options to put people onto the new tax regime, Tamanna. Still to process what the final understanding of the new slabs also is. But, you know, if it makes sense for people, they will actually move.
You know, I want to actually play that out. Monika, let's just play that out, because the speech was so quick. And like you said, we'll have to wait for the budget document and go through the annexures to see the fine print. But let's just listen in once to exactly what the finance minister said while announcing these tax changes.
The first one concerns rebate. Currently, those with income up to 5 lakh do not pay any tax, do not pay any income tax in both old and new regimes. I propose to increase the rebate limit to 7 lakhs in the I propose to increase the rebate limit to 7 lakh in the new tax regime.
All right, so that was the announcement on the basic rebate. We'll get that bit cut where she's announcing the new slabs. The new slabs are also on your screen. Monika, a couple of things I found interesting. Your basic tax payment now starts from 7 lakh rupees versus 5 lakh rupees earlier. So that's a big boost. No?
No.
With your deduction, with your deduction in place?
Only if your total taxable income. No. Yes. If you earn anything over 7 lakh, then your basic limit, I think, is now 3 lakh. But you will get the benefit of the rebate only if your taxable income is lower than 7 lakh. Okay, so that's your slab is not starting from 7. Only if your income stops at 7 lakh taxable income, only then you pay no tax. For if you get more than 7 lakh as taxable income, then I think your new slab is, I think it's beginning at 3 lakh.
I have that breakup, and we'll show it on our screen as well.
3 lakh, 3 to 6.
Right, it's right there. So 0 to 3 lakhs is nil tax.
Only, Yes. And 0 to 3 is nil tax, 3 to 6 is 5%.
Correct.
But should you be earning only 7 lakh, then you pay no tax. Okay?
Okay. So should you be earning 7 lakhs, then you pay no tax. From 6 to 9 lakhs, you pay 10%. 9 to 12, you pay 15. 12 to 15, you pay 20, and above 15 lakhs, you pay 30%. So your highest tax slab still starts at above 15 lakhs.
Yeah.
So no big change over there. Under the new tax regime, it was always 15 lakhs.
That's a big one. Huh. That's right. That's right. And that's a sort of I mean, you moved it up from, I think, earlier it was 10. They've moved it to 15. I'll have to go back and look at the slabs again. But yes, it is. We will have to do the maths to see finally what slab you end up in and then what your marginal rate is. The important thing is the marginal rate on the super rich are beginning to come down. It was disproportionately high, and that is beginning to come down. So as you said, the government is showing confidence of taking this step to reduce the surcharge on the top tax, on people earning more than 5 crore in a year, Tamanna.
Yeah, so that definitely shows political confidence in my view, because that's the first thing that they're going to face. You know, opposition parties saying that you're a government for suit boot and for the super rich, you want to reduce their taxes. But it's been done consistently through as well. Would you say that some of this, Monika, is because GST revenues are beginning to get steady and very buoyant? And of course, the government is going to give up about 35,000 crore rupees with this and more. But it now seems like we are moving to a situation where we can start simplifying this very complex process all of us go through every year. When you file your taxes, figure out your deductions, figure out your exemptions, get CAs to sort of, you know, get the best bet for you. The idea is to move to a simpler kind of a regime, isn't it?
Correct. And also, if you look at the collections, corporate taxes were about 15% last year. Personal income taxes were 15%. GST was 16% of the total revenue pie. So we are seeing GST collections go up. And also, Tamanna, it's important to remember that people talk about GST having too many rates, but somewhere in the logic of too many rates always also, in my opinion, has been to put progressivity into an indirect tax. So if you understand taxes, direct taxes are supposed to be progressive, where more you earn, the higher tax rate you pay. But GST, for example, has zero tax rate on, say, fresh fruit, vegetables, non-packaged milk. Spices and oil will have 5%. ACs and luxury goods, what are considered in a still poor country, are taxed at the highest rate at GST. So you have progressivity being built into GST. So we shouldn't decode GST revenues going up as a tax on the poor, because if you consume low GST items, then you are actually not paying all that much of tax. If you want the lifestyle, then you will end up paying a higher GST, which, if you have the disposable income, you can do so. So we need to understand the two parts very carefully, that GST revenues have grown. There is a little bit of fiscal space to do something, and she has done that for the new tax regime.
You know, the other bit I think we should quickly talk about, Monika, is the two schemes that were announced, one for women and some relief for senior citizens. For women, there is a 2-year scheme specifically for a savings scheme for, women if they open this account with a 7% interest. Now, does that make any sense right now in this current interest regime?
I think the number was 7.5. So Tamanna, interest rates are going to start going down. We've got estimates for inflation for next year coming in. RBI is charged by Parliament to keep inflation between the band of 2 and 6. It is going to meet that target next year because COVID is over. We are going to see lower inflation rates, therefore lower policy rates, therefore lower interest rates. So as we see the interest rate cycle unwind, this 7.5 lock-in will start to look very attractive. So that, anything which is incentivizing women to have one control over their money, go to a bank and actually start the financialization journey is great. It's excellent because women traditionally have invested in gold because that is what they had access to. If something like this helps them onboard their own selves, the financial system and sector, I think it's great news. Senior citizens, they've done this. It's fantastic. It's doubled. The senior citizen savings scheme is a great product. And the monthly income scheme also, so the limits have doubled. I would have actually, Tamanna, liked to see a little bit happening on the health insurance front for the seniors and super seniors, because as you know, the private sector health insurance sort of just falls off the minute you cross 70. They don't want you to live anymore. So they make it very difficult for you to get medical insurance. So I was actually hoping that Ayushman Bharat would have a co-pay for the senior citizen. We'll have to read the budget document. But, if they had put it, she would have said it out. So very good on the savings front. But I think that health part has got left uncovered, Tamanna.
Yeah, and that is truly a big issue in this country. We're still very dependent on the private sector for quality health. Out of pocket expenditure is very, very high, though the economic service says or claims that it has come down. So some relief there, especially for senior citizens, would have been important. I just want to play out the part where she talks about those tax rates, Monika. Let's just listen into that for a second and get some clarity on what exactly this new tax regime is and why this could be a game changer in the way we have been paying taxes all of this time. Listen in.
The second proposal relates to middle-class individuals. I had introduced in the year 2020 the new personal income tax regime with 6 income slabs starting from 2.5 lakh. I propose to change the tax structure in this regime by reducing the number of slabs to 5 and increasing the tax exemption limit to 3 lakhs. The new tax rates are 0 to 3 lakh, nil. 3 to 6 lakhs, 5%. 6 to 9 lakhs, 10%. 9 to 12 lakh, 15%. 12 to 15 lakhs, 20%. And above 15 lakhs, 30%. This will provide major relief to all taxpayers in the new regime. An individual.
All right, so the new tax regime has become the default tax regime. One major announcement over there. Apart from what has happened on the personal income tax, what really stood out for you, Monika?
Tamanna, I have been hoping, and I've been saying this everywhere, that this is not the time for large freebies. This is not a time. It is not going to be a pre-election budget. This is not what I understand of this government or the finance minister. And to be sure, what they have done is they've actually increased capital expenditure. We are still to see private sector investment come in. We have another year of government spending more. I think it's 10 trillion rupees this year that they are going to spend. It has a cascading effect. 1 rupee of capex results in 3 rupee impact on the economy. So we're going to see a continuation of this expenditure. And so there is now another 8 to 12 month period where private sector investment must come in. It is important for us as middle class Indians who draw income from salaries and work that there is overall growth in the economy. It will lift all the boats. So it was very important that they don't get into a pre-election freebie like the kind we saw in 2008 with the farm loan waiver ahead of 2009. We bankrupted ourselves in that year. I am just delighted that we are moving into the 4th gear. The next 2 to 3 years, we should see growth stabilize and then hopefully accelerate after that. And that's actually good news for Middle India because you get jobs, you get increments, you get opportunities, startups get a boost. So instead of giving you a few thousand here or there, you are getting empowered to skill yourself, get better jobs, start up enterprises. I think that's a more sustainable and a more dignified way rather than getting a freebie here or there, Tamanna.
One scheme that she spoke about very briefly, again, we have to wait for the budget document, was giving, under the apprenticeship scheme, a direct benefit transfer to youth. I found that very interesting, Monika. We have to wait and see.
I can't hear you, Tamanna.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? All right. I don't think she can hear me. Can you hear me, Monika? All right, we'll try and get her back. But I was talking about a scheme which looks at direct benefit transfer to youth under the apprenticeship scheme. Now, what exactly is that scheme? Who are these youth that will be identified and targeted for this direct benefit transfer? To what extent still, of course, remains to be seen. If I were to look at the key takeaways really from this budget, one is a very big capital expenditure announced by the government. That's important. That shows that the government is ready to spend. What do I mean by capital expenditure? Government wants to spend on infrastructure, on development of actual tangible assets. This always helps in any economy, because if the government starts spending, it creates more jobs, it creates more infrastructure, etc., etc. So that is a good expenditure that the government is doing. So capital expenditure is one key push. A very big focus, at least in the speech. We'll have to wait and see how much money has been allocated, but a very big push for a transition to a green economy. That was seen in the custom duty exemptions also. So less custom duties will be charged on the import of items like lithium batteries, for example, which is required for electric vehicles. And a lot of R&D and government push for transitioning to a cleaner environment, a greener environment. Now, is this just piecemeal, or will this make a big difference, is what we will have to see. Apart from this, of course, the big income tax changes will stand out. Some extension of relief for startups is also something that we have seen. Let's listen in to some of the key announcements made by the Finance Minister.